Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Donna Kapmeyer, and I'm the CEO and firm owner of Action Coach of Coastal Bend and Capital Game Plan Consulting in South Texas, and I will be your host for today. I am very excited to have our special guest, Jimmy Chase, on our show. Jimmy is the president of Phoenix Engineering, and today we're going to speak with Jimmy about his journey to get to where he's at today and the challenges and successes of operating and owning a business. If this is your first time on our channel, please be sure to like and subscribe so you get notifications when we publish new content. Well, Jimmy, welcome to the show, and it's great to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be speaking with you today.
Likewise. Well, let's start off by having you take a moment to share a little bit about your business and how your journey began.
Okay. So my business, as you said, was Phoenix Engineering. We started in September of 2022 in Spring Branch, Texas. I literally started it living out of an RV, out of my in-laws' land. We took a little bit out to get our webpage set up, to buy our domain, get our email set up, and then started working our contacts. I have a lot of contacts within the sales community. So we just started be kind of trying to become solution providers for manufacturers. And what it looked like 2.5 years ago versus what it looks like today is a little bit different. So we've kind of grown and refined our process, but it's been an exciting journey. And that was kind of how we got our start. And currently now, we have 6 clients and working in both Colorado and Texas right now.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, let's talk about the tough stuff first. What do you believe to be some of your biggest mistakes that you made along the way of this journey called business ownership, and what did you learn from them?
So I think some of the mistakes that I made early on in it was fear of timing. So when
Okay.
I actually took the business name out 2 years prior to ever really doing anything with Phoenix Engineering because I just kept waiting for that perfect moment to start when my career was exactly lined up, when my regular job was in a great place. So I kept waiting and waiting for this opportunity to present itself when really I wish I had started, back then just because of how much I learned as far as the evolution of the business over the last 2.5 years and, beginning to work that network and beginning to meet the people out there that really help you along the journey because it wasn't a singular thing. That was the thing also that early on I started putting, I was wearing 8 different hats, right? I was the
Yes.
marketing guy and I was the sales guy and I was the consultant and I was the technician and I was the bookkeeper. So when I started out doing all these roles. And what I realized is that, yes, I absolutely can do anything, but I cannot do everything, right? And so I wish I had also asked for help sooner earlier on. I get it. You don't always have the fundage to pay for
Mhm.
that help, but that is something that early on I probably could have accelerated the growth of the business by, at least 6 months had I just brought some more smart people in on it and just got a little bit more insight. So those were some of the challenges early on that I really had to overcome to kind of get where I'm at today.
And that's a commonality amongst most business owners, especially getting started. It's because you wear all those hats and really thinking back and saying, who are the who's I can put in my business that can do it better than me? And so that I'm not wearing 8 or 10 hats, and I'm focused on what I do best. So well said. So let's talk about your challenges today. What do you believe to be your biggest challenges that you face today in your business?
So the biggest challenges that we face right now is kind of this evolving SEO and then this integration of AI becoming just as big of a part of SEO because we're a solutions provider. And when we first started out, the business was word of mouth, which was great because all of our business was coming to us. But what we
Okay.
found is that as we go out to businesses, if you don't need us, you probably don't even want to talk to us. right? And it's just awkward if we walk into your office and you don't need our services and don't know who we are. And
Mm-hmm.
so our biggest challenge that we find right now is the branding, is the just getting that name out and getting in front of customers, because we offer something unique and different that a lot of companies are still kind of fractional maintenance. Well, what does that look like? How is fractional maintenance going to help my organization? There's not anybody really out there offering it. There's temp services that will offer you employees, but there's no one who's coming in and saying, we're drop-in. We can fix any of your equipment, or we can service any of your equipment right now, today. We can start rolling people in. So people don't know who we are, and they don't know necessarily what the value of it is. Once they get us and once they meet us, we do really, really well. But trying to set up that introduction is still one of our biggest challenges that we face today.
So it sounds like that's a big differentiator. So one, trying to get in front of them to let them so they can understand who you are, but that's a big differentiator of you as it relates to your industry, is because what I'm hearing is that other organizations aren't doing what you're doing.
Right. So you could go to the OEM, but it's only specific to that one piece of machine made by ABB. There's no one out there
Right.
that says, oh, you have Phonic, you have ABB robots in house. Don't worry. I have technicians who can handle both. Right. Oh, by the way, that's going on a conveyor. I have a set of group that only handle the material handling side of it. So all your conveyor belts, right? There's nobody that offers a one-step solution. Right now, everybody has to go to 10 different vendors in order to get their 10 different pieces of equipment. And then they still have to have either a manager or a project manager who can handle all of that. We're taking all of that off the table and just saying, this is the one call, one source, one solution. So instead of having
Wow.
10 different vendors, I have the same 10 vendors, but I have them in house now. They all fall under my umbrella.
Wow, that is fantastic. So just a matter of getting your message out there in front of more people to share exactly what you do, because that's definitely a differentiator. And people like simplicity, and people like one point of contact, right? They don't want to be going to all those different folks. So, wow, that's fantastic. So, with that excitement, where you're at today, where do you see this company in the next 5 years?
So in the next 5 years, there's kind of two things that we see the company really growing on. So one, the service contracts. We think that the
Mhm.
service contracts alone for the fractional maintenance, basically saying, hey, we guarantee that we're going to have a tech in your shop for 4 hours or 10 hours a week doing your preventative maintenance. We think that growth is going to be huge. The other side of that is we think that we're going to be able to grab all the consumables. So right now, the customer provides the filter. We want to get away from
Right.
all of that. We want to be that holistic. Hey, we service it, we bring our own filters in, we bring our own equipment, right? So that your people are not involved unless they want training on how to do it. And even still, that's what's great for us, is that if we can get them on the consumables, even once we've trained up their staff and their staff is doing it, we'll still be able to continue to make that residual income by selling them the consumables, by still being able to be that one source for all the right OEM equipment, right? And because it's all pre-negotiated and we're setting up distributorships on the backside, we have competitive pricing. So it's not us having to pay retail and mark up. We're actually starting to get distributor pricing with some of this, because this is a huge value add for OEM as well, because OEM is getting longer life out of the equipment, which is just another value add.
Love that. Love that. That's fantastic. So let's talk about success. You're having some successes today. So when you think about success, who comes to mind and why?
For me, success will always be kind of Steve Jobs' definition, right? And one of my favorite quotes, and by Steve Jobs, is just it's not about being the richest guy in the graveyard. It's about making a contribution to humanity. And when we focus on that, and when we love what we do, we're gonna do good work, right? And so that's Steve Jobs is one of my big kind of guys that I look to for how'd he do it, and what was some of his philosophies.
And what a game changer he was, and what an innovative thinker he was.
I mean, really, and I mean, I
Absolutely.
love the way that he, defines innovation. Innovation is the difference between leaders and followers.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, big fan of Steve Jobs.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's go back and, go back to hindsight. Hindsight is always 2020. If you could do this all over again, what would you do differently, or would you do anything differently?
So I think the only thing that when I look back and think about differently is that I didn't think about personally what that was going to mean as far as credit ratings and trying to establish credit, right? So one
Okay.
of the big challenges that I found was that for 2 years, me personally, I had to have income statements to be able to prove much of my financials. So
Hmm.
when I went to go for some refinancing, and then also in the beginning, when we were still kind of mixing personal and business finances, there were challenges that were presenting themselves that now the business has developed its own credit. I wish I had gotten kind of my DUNS number sooner and had gotten registered with Dun and Bradstreet a little bit sooner. Just because we also had challenges in the beginning when trying to apply for credit. Oh, we can't find your business. We can't recognize your EIN number. And so that first to 6 to 9 months in the beginning, there were a lot of challenges where, and again, that's what I talked about. When I started it 2 years ago, I wish I had, even those baby steps would have set me that much farther forward for when I actually was ready to go full time with it, because I was not expecting to lose my credit rating, right? Most of my things I had always been able to scale through credit. This was the first time that I've ever had to scale without having credit. So that was kind of a whoa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier to build when you're building from a nest egg versus when you're building from nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which was a little bit scarier too, because for the first time ever, I found myself without a safety net, which was uncomfortable at times. I'm not gonna lie. That
Sure.
was uncomfortable. It was, I hadn't been in that situation in a long time. So it was, so now that's one thing that I think that when I first started looking into it, I think I wish I had done a little bit more homework on, okay, what is it going to look like financially for me for the next 2 years if I drop off everything and I'm just doing a startup?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Great lesson learned. So Jimmy, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? Any other additional information about you and or your business?
So the one thing that I really like to just talk with everyone about is that for us and for the business that we're doing, we're not just maintenance and reliability engineers. We also do the process improvement and continuous improvement within your processes. So if you're a manufacturer and you find yourself, in need of maybe a process engineer that can bring some Lean Six Sigma or Six Sigma to your organization, that's another one of the services that we provide. And then also that we do that training with the Go Lean Six Sigma uh, uh, webpage. We do that also. So that's something else that we can bring to the organization. And that's kind of that third item that we're really trying to push in our growth over the next couple of years.
Fantastic. You're speaking my language, my friend. Love that. Love that. Love that. So, how can viewers and listeners connect with you or learn more about your business?
So the best way to connect with us is to go on LinkedIn. You can look at my profile, which is just, do a search for Jimmy Chase at Phoenix Engineering. Also, we have our own page on LinkedIn, Phoenix Engineering. So you can do a search for just Phoenix Engineering, and you can do that. Our webpage is under reconstruction. We're hoping to have it launch again in about 2 weeks. We should be having that. We'll have a new landing. Very excited about that. And that's going to be at that www.phoenix, which the FENIX engineering.com is where our new landing page is going to be. So super excited about that. And then you can always reach us on my cell at 720-372-6228. Those are the best ways to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Well, Jimmy, thank you for sharing your story. This has been fantastic. And you're definitely providing a niche service that we just need to get more folks to see. I hope that our audience finds this information very valuable. I'm sure that they will. This is a Business Spotlight series with Donna Kapmeyer from Action Coach at Coastal Bend and Jimmy Chase from Phoenix Engineering. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to see our great content. Thank you for being with us today, Jimmy.
It was an honor and a privilege to be with you today. Thank you for spotlighting our organization.